Nathan, who's joining us in the studio for a deeper understanding of what India is really looking at, Sandeep, at this point of time, because India has made it very clear in that press note that was released quickly after the strikes in Pakistan that India is not looking to escalate. This should not be seen as an escalation. It was a measured response. Where does India stand now? If Pakistan retaliates, I think India has made it very clear it's not going to be shy to respond back.
Absolutely, Preeti. And in fact, if you heard Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri's statement and you read between the lines of his statement, it was very clear that India made a point that the attacks were against the terrorist infrastructure. They were not against civilians. They were not against the Pakistan military. No Pakistan military targets were hit. What was struck were terrorist targets inside Pakistan. These attacks were measured, proportionate, responsive, and most importantly, non-escalatory. Non-escalatory meaning that it was now up to Pakistan to choose whether it wanted to sit quietly or then choose to escalate the situation further. And if there is an escalation, Preeti, then it is up to India to respond to that escalation with choosing more targets. Out of 21 out of the targets that were shown by the Indian government today, only 9 were hit. Therefore, the government is indicating that there are several other targets that it could strike, terrorist targets, it could strike military targets next if Pakistan chose to escalate to the next level. So it's entirely on Pakistan, what it wants to do. What does the Pakistan military want to do with
so, Sandeep,
these
the ball is
today?
technically in Pakistan's court right now. India has retaliated, and you are right, in that press brief which came quickly after the strikes in Pakistan, India has reiterated, and I would reckon if there are 3 words that we underline and double line again, that would be non-escalatory, a measured response, and civilians were not attacked, and neither were any Pakistan establishments attacked. Having said that, Sandeep, Pakistan has deemed this as an act of war. They have said that they are going to retaliate at a time of their choosing. How do you read it for someone who's studied Pakistan very closely in the conflicts earlier?
Well, Preeti, it's a big blow to the Pakistan military. The attacks that unfolded, Operation Sindoor is the largest series of attacks that India has conducted on Pakistani soil after 1971. That's more than half a century. That you've targeted targets across the breadth of Pakistan. The northernmost target and the southernmost target are separated by 700 kilometers almost. That's from POK, Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, right down to Pakistan's Punjab province, Bahawalpur. This is the spread of targets that have been chosen. 5 of these targets were in Punjab province. Again, Punjab province has never been attacked by India. But here again, they have been very careful to choose the words that they struck only terrorist infrastructure inside Punjab province. Now, Punjab province is the heartland of Pakistan. It is where 80% of the Pakistan military comes from. So, looking at the way how unpredictable the Pakistan military has been in the last couple of months under General Asim Munir, it's quite possible that they could choose the path of escalation because they've been very unpredictable under
Sandeep,
Asim Munir.
does the defense minister of Pakistan's word matter at all? Because he seems to be suggesting that if India doesn't act any more from what it's already done, then Pakistan will not retaliate, because ultimately everything there, as we've seen it in the past, is in the hands of the Pakistan army. And there were contradictory statements that were coming in any case through the course of the last 8 to 10 hours, one from the army and one from the executive, which is of course the government.
Well, 2 voices there, Preeti. You have the civilian government saying one thing and you have the military doing something entirely different. And we've seen this dual-faced approach during the Kargil war when the civilian government was receiving Prime Minister Vajpayee, the Lahore bus yatra, and then you had the military simultaneously planning the Kargil offensive. So I wouldn't take this very seriously, what the defense minister says. I will look at what the Pakistan military does next.
Right. And, and there's a sinister message in that. I appreciate you joining us, Sandeep. Thank you. We're going to keep coming back to you for more. Viewers, India struck with precision where 9 terror launch pads in Pakistan was concerned. This was a successful Operation Sindoor. But viewers, there was also a message of unity and empathy back home. Empathy delivered with utmost vengeance.
In the shadow of rising tensions between India and Pakistan, came a moment of strength, unity, and a message. Just hours after India's Operation Sindoor hit terror camps in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, two women, two warriors stood before the nation.
6 से 7 मई
Colonel Sofia Qureshi, Wing Commander Vyomika Singh.
And successfully destroyed.
Two women officers, two different fates.
1:30 बजे
One message, loud, clear, and unshakable. The unity of the nation that terror failed to break. The Nari Shakti movement that shook the enemy and inspired a nation. Colonel Qureshi, a trailblazer. In 2016, she became the first woman to lead an Indian Army contingent in a multinational military exercise. Her global experience includes 6 years with United Nations peacekeeping operations, notably in Congo in 2006.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर 22 अप्रैल को पहलगाम में हुए विभत्स आतंकवादी हमले के शिकार मासूम नागरिकों व उनके परिवारों को न्याय देने के लिए लॉन्च किया गया था। इस कार्रवाई में 9 टेररिस्ट कैंप्स को टारगेट किया गया और पूरी तरह से इसे बर्बाद किया गया। पिछले 3 दशकों से टेरर इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर का निर्माण हो रहा है। इसमें रिक्रूटमेंट, इंडोक्ट्रिनेशन सेंटर्स, ट्रेनिंग एरियाज व लॉन्च पैड शामिल थे।
Wing Commander Vyomika Singh, a fighter in the skies, a high-altitude rescue hero in Arunachal, a permanent commission in the flying branch.
A niche technology weapons with careful selection of warheads was ensured so that there will be no collateral damage. The point of impact in each of the target was a specific building or a group of buildings. All the targets were neutralized with clinical efficiency, and the results reiterate the professionalism of the Indian Armed Forces in the planning and execution of their operations.
Together, they did not just brief the nation, they became the face of New India. Operation Sindoor sent a message across the border. But this moment sent one across the world. India stands united. Bureau Report, India Today.
Jai Hind, and thank you very much.
Because Operation Sindoor was loaded with symbolism, not just the fact that it was called Operation Sindoor for a reason. The Prime Minister picked the word Operation Sindoor to avenge the widows of Pahalgam. So loaded with symbolism just there, but not just that. India chose 2 women to front the press briefing to the world of Operation Sindoor, the fine print, the micro details of the operation, and 2 women from 2 very different faiths, one Muslim and one Hindu, giving out a larger message, not just of empathy, where women were concerned who were involved in this attack because their husbands were taken away shortly after their marriage, but also to that of unity back home, where you had 2 women conduct that press briefing to the world coming in from 2 different faiths. Clear messaging there. I want to cut across to our guest this evening. Joining me, Dr. Tara Kartha. She is a terrorism security expert, former director, National Security Council Secretariat, squadron leader Debolina Das, defense expert, Baswanti Mukherjee, former diplomat, Gitika Lidda, author and wife of late Brigadier Ellis Lidda, squadron leader Gini Chaudhary is with me in the studio, former transport pilot and drone operator. Captain Manjula Katoch, former army officer, is also in the studio with me in Noida. I want to come to you first, Squadron Leader Chaudhary. When you saw the operation unfold, I think shortly after 1:45 a.m. at night, at about 3 a.m., you had the army that already issued out a statement suggesting Operation Sindoor was a success. The sheer word Sindoor, how did it hit home in terms of why the word Operation Sindoor? And then today you had 2 women who headed this press briefing coming in from 2 very different faiths. So even though the operation was precise, conducted with precision, delivered, but so much empathy also delivered with it and a strong message.
See, Jai Hind everyone. Preeti, the word Sindoor, it has a deep symbolic meaning in context of Indian culture. And now it was a clear-cut message across border that हम अपनी फौज की जवाब language में we call it मुंह तोड़ जवाब. So it was a clear-cut message to them, and the beauty was the way this operation was conducted using the armaments, the precision missiles which were used, because of which the collateral there was hardly any collateral. So the reason why precision armaments, precision strike was done, so that was the beauty of this whole operation. And once I saw the operation briefing was covered by two armed forces women officers. I am fortunate enough to having worked with one of them, Wing Commander Vyomika Singh, with whom I was in 2015. I was in the Republic Day parade with her. So it is a moment of pride for all of us.
There was a sense of pride, you feel,
yes,
when you saw these both women. Why do you think, Officer Captain, that the government today chose two women to speak to the world on how Operation Sindoor was conducted?
Absolutely, absolutely. See, whatever happens in armed forces is just not by, chance. A lot of thought has got into this, and there's a message, that's a strong message which has gone to the world, that when it comes to, defending our nation, we are both the male and the female of armed forces. We both work shoulder to shoulder to give a strong, befitting reply to what they had done at Pahalgam. And yes, choosing women officers there for the press belief and of two different faiths. What they were talking about, ki Hindu puch ke goli mari, Hindu puch ke goli mari, they were trying to divide us. But here in India, and more so in armed forces, we are not divided. We are not getting into the trap of Hindu-Muslim. We are all one. And this unity is our strength.
So there was a deeper meaning.
Absolutely, deeper meaning. It was not by chance that they were from different two faiths. There was a thought put into this. And the thought and the very clear message was that we are together for our nation, and our unity is definitely our strength. And second most important thing here was, despite our might, the the armed forces might, the operation was very, very precision was there in the operation.
Precise, yes.
Absolutely. And the targets that we chose were very, very deliberate. And what you said, the empathy was there. It was not, there was no collateral damage, and morality, our morality was intact in this. And we need business, because we are only against terrorism. We are not against any religion. We are not against the civilian population of any of the country. We are against terrorism, and we will fight against terrorism. So the message is loud and clear, whether it's about the this Operation Sindoor, the word very Sindoor, it is very, very symbolic. That means that we value our values, our traditions, our women so much.
So symbolic and a strong message back home, and a strong message to Pakistan in itself, seeming to suggest, if you're not going to dismantle these terror camps, we will do it. We will do it with utmost precision. Before I let both you ladies go, I will bring you back in, Squadron Leader Geetika. Why do you think, what was the thought behind choosing two women to project to the world in the first press briefing when India's practically scripted history in retaliating against terror where Pakistan is concerned? Why the thought? What was the message that India was trying to send out?
As the name suggests, the Operation Sindoor, it was a message that what has happened during Pahalgam attack. If you remember that photograph, that video where the woman is sitting behind a dead body of his partner, and they have just newly married, and the emotions, I still get goosebumps when I imagine that scenario, what would have happened there. So bringing out two women officers was also that we are continuing sending this message, and we are ready for any retaliation, anything you may have. We are all set and ready. And the best part is what Indian Armed Forces has come up with is the element of surprise if you see. So after 22nd, we waited. People are all busy in practicing the mock drill, and
So
civilians
the
were
timing
charged
of our
up.
choice.
Yes.
Right.
So the element of surprise
was also there. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, ladies, for joining us. I want to cut across right now to Geetika Lidder. Ms. Lidder, what do you make? Because I would think the best way to describe, at least with what has happened in terms of the messaging at the back of it, is bigger, because it was empathy back home delivered with utmost vengeance, precision.
So exactly, in fact, all has been said, and enough and more has been said about the symbolism of the nomenclature of the operation, the precision with which we went in, the surprise element. There are uniformed officers on the panel, ex-uniformed officers on the panel today who have already summed it up beautifully. But as a normal Indian citizen and a soldier's wife, I can only say that we are very, very proud. I mean, we are very proud Indians today to have witnessed a historic event of this nature, because it is the duty of the defense forces and the government of any country to protect its own. And the way they have done it in a very, very non-escalatory, the key word here is non-escalatory, an act of response rather than an act of terror. It's something that I'm extremely proud of, the strategy behind it, the timing, and the way that they have gone in, and the tremendous restraint that they have. I mean, it is not a show of military might, it is a show of citizens' right. So I'm very, very honored to be here to say that I'm a very proud Indian today, and those 28 homes who have suffered in the last few days would probably get peaceful sleep today.
You know, if there is something called closure, I don't know if it is, but maybe that. But, you know, Ms. Lidder, I want to bring you back in for one more comment. And why do you think? Because it wasn't just happenstance or chance. India, you know, on purpose, deliberately put 2 women officers to brief not just India, but the world on Operation Sindoor. And not just that there were 2 women, they came from 2 very different faiths, so there was a larger messaging in that as well.
Absolutely, because maybe the nomenclature of Sindoor would probably, lean towards a particular religion, but we are agnostic to any such belief and faith. And I think the messaging there, coming from multi-faith women and they're not 2 army, they're not 2 air force, they're not 2 navy. So the fact that one is from the air force and one is from the army and different faiths, and both women to hold this all-time historic, probably the most historic briefing in our lives. So says something about the thought process of the government and the defense forces today.
You know, Dr. Kartha, I want to pull you in on this, because what we saw yesterday, India's night of retribution, was anyway scripting history. But when we saw the press briefing, and I would agree with Ms. Lidder, where she says it's possibly one of the most historic press briefings of our lives, where you have these 2 women and coming in from 2 very different faiths to speak to the world on what India did and has taken onus responsibility for.
I think it was amazingly scripted. Very, very, very nicely done. And I think it showed a degree of sensitivity, which, generally you don't expect from a government. Because the government is this faceless being who does something somewhere. There's a bureaucracy. This was done. I mean, it was really quite amazing the way it has been, the whole thing has been choreographed. But the point I think I would like to make is that this is not over yet, right? So let's wait and see what happens. One hopes that other women elsewhere who are suffering on the line of control, they also get some strength from us, that they get the message that India will stand strongly at that. I mean, that is the central message. We are strong, we are united, we will retaliate.
Right. But, Dr. Tara Kartha, you're bang on where you say that, yes, it was loaded with positive symbolism and messaging, because usually, rarely do governments really think of these things. And that actually happened. We saw both the armed forces and the government coming in together on that. The Prime Minister picking the name, then the armed forces projecting 2 women to the world to brief them about Operation Sindoor, which was historic in any case. But Dr. Kartha, I'll ask you a larger question, because you're a defense strategic expert. And you're bang on when you say it's far from over. Why do you say that?
Well, we are seeing, like you said, the kind of shouting which is coming from across the border. especially, oddly enough, which is being propagated in the Western press. The Pakistani press is not really playing it up, but I can find the Western press is really playing up this whole thing, saying that Pakistan is going to strike back and this and that and all the rest of it. And then, of course, there is the personal ego of General Munir. Until that ego is satisfied, after all, he's put one prime minister and 3 lieutenant generals in jail. So if he loses this round, he's going to be in trouble.
Fair point. I'm coming right back to you. I want to bring in Basmati Mukherjee. Basmati Mukherjee, a former diplomat, how do you view with what has taken place in the last 15 to 18 hours, Ms. Mukherjee?
I do believe that this is India's moment. It shows that India has arrived. It shows that it's a new and rising India, that we have, as you have very correctly put it, through our non-escalatory response, demonstrated that we are a responsible nation who only strikes back when it is essential to do so. We have done that. We have demonstrated our military powers in a restrained manner. We could have gone in much further. We were not far from Rawalpindi, for that matter. We took out the targets in an exemplary manner. We did not go in for civilian casualties. We actually demonstrated how military force should be used. We demonstrated that we are a responsible nation. But more than that, the symbolism that you asked our armed forces officers, I can tell you as a professional woman diplomat and a former ambassador, that the symbolism was there for every woman in India. That the fact that so many women had their husbands shot dead in the most cruel manner in front of them. And one of them said, "Kill me too." And the terrorist said, "I'm sparing you so that you can go and tell Prime Minister Modi." He was much more rude than that. I won't even say what he said. That message demonstrated that they thought we are a nation of weaklings and we're going to take this lying down. But what did we demonstrate? We demonstrated. You said, go and tell Prime Minister Modi? Fine. But Prime Minister Modi and the entire nation which is behind him has demonstrated that you don't make our women widows and get away with it. It's not a question of religion. I'm very happy there were 2 women from different faiths. I'm a Hindu and I've never worn Sindoor. That's not the point. The symbolic point is that they came and they made widows of our women. And we demonstrated through the 2 women who were there, through all the women from the armed forces that you have in your panel, and I'm so proud of all of them, we demonstrated that India, its men and its women, its armed forces, its people are together today. And if they want, and this General Munir is considered called Mullah Munir, okay? This Mullah General Munir, he is welcome to rave and rant and do whatever he wants. He has got 4 days of ammunition, 4 days of fuel, and 4 days of money. So we'll see what he does in the next 4 days and 4 nights. We are ready for him. So if he escalates, we will decide. But when we do something, we think and we act. Unfortunately, that is not true for Pakistan's Chief of Army Staff.
You know, I want to bring in Squadron Leader Debulina Das as well. Taking off from what the former diplomat said, Ms. Das, the larger question, Squadron Leader Das, is governments usually never, and this is both. I'm not just talking about the government, I'm even talking about the armed forces, because we are so deeply involved, and as one should be, to execute an opposition to perfection and precision, that you forget the larger, softer messaging of that operation. This time around, that didn't quite happen. Just the name, Operation Sindoor, has touched a chord with not just some of the women who lost their husbands, because we've been speaking to them, and some of them actually, if this can be even an iota of a balm, has proven to be so, because they feel that it was retribution for them. And, when you speak with them, if there is something called closure, that's come full circle for them, and that's saying an immense lot. So that was thought about, Ms. Das. On the other hand, who delivered the message? Two women, officers delivered the message coming in from two different armed forces, one from the Air Force, one from the Army. And then, because there's been so much rhetoric around it where religion and communal rhetoric is concerned, that to the world and back home, you gave an image and a message of unity, of having both these officers of two different faiths.
Yes, I would like to say that the name itself, Operation Sindoor, was to strike the right chord with all the women who lost their husbands in this Pahalgam attack. Because of that, because the Sindoor was taken off from their forehead, we had to retaliate to avenge that, because revenge is something that can give the ultimate balm to such a tragedy. So that is why the name Operation Sindoor, which rightly fixed this operation to give that that hand, or that hand over the head of the citizens from the government, that we are there for you. Anything goes wrong with you, we will take care of you. This was the first message. And the second message, that two women organizing the briefing of this operation tells us two things. One is they were from different faith. It tells us that we are united against terrorism in spite of whatever faith we are from. And the second thing, as we all know, that since it was symbolic, now symbolic for a woman is that empathy. Nobody else is more empathetic than a woman. Again, we also believe that hell hath no fear like the wrath of a woman. So if you have to consider both of them, that at one edge, we are talking about being empathy, being sympathetic, being soft, but at the other end, you do us wrong and you see our wrath. That is the example of being a woman. And by portraying these two women for giving the briefing, I think this is what the government and the forces wanted to show, that we are soft, we are empathetic, but if situation comes, we will burn you alive, and we will not have any kind of empathy in taking revenge against the Sindoor that you have taken away from us.
Fair point. I just want to get in all of you for the next 30 seconds each, and I'll begin with you, Ms. Lidder, because it seems the language of conflict is changing, not just how India, speaks militarily, strategically, but also how India addresses its own core constituency back home, because a lot of Operation Sindoor actually spoke to the people back home. You're on mute, ma'am.
It reminds me of like when we say that we are a government of the people, for the people, and by the people. It completely, epitomizes this entire thing, that this operation was for the women, to avenge the women, and the news and the entire briefing of it was held by the women. So that goes to say something about the strength of our forces also. And it's not just about the 11,000 women who serve as defense officers. It is also about the entire nation of women who is behind the strength of the nation. So that is, I think today we have really come out with flying colors as a nation which cares and a nation which dares.
Dr. Kartha, I want to bring you back in on the same, because for somebody who studied defense, strategic affairs, rarely, and I think it's quite unique to India itself, rarely have we seen retribution delivered with this kind of empathy, where, the language of that delivery is so well thought of, where the messaging is not just deterrence with Pakistan, but somewhere down the line also proves to be a balm on the most affected of it.
I think it was superb messaging. It was normally what you see is a lot of warmongering. You say, I will get you, I'll do this, I'll do that. This was, that Sindoor, whoever thought of it, hats off to that person. That fact that we are doing this for our women. And remember, see, when you say you're an economic power, I am a power, I've got X, Y, Z, all that power comes together when you do something like this. When you send that message, you can't mess with us, and you're doing it in a subdued way. You're not saying that I will bleed Pakistan. You said, we've done it. We've hit the targets, we're backing off, and here are officers with us. Amazing messaging. And it's a slap in the face of Pakistan.
Former diplomat Ms. Mukherjee, you want to come in and weigh on this? Because for somebody who's been a diplomat herself, you would have rarely seen this. I've actually, even if you look at internationally, retribution, revenge is common practice. We've seen it happen across the world between countries in conflict. But messaging which is loaded with symbolism such as this, which actually helps, like I said, put a balm on a population which has been most affected by it, is very, very unique.
Absolutely. I was told that the Operation Sindoor term was selected by Prime Minister himself. If that is true, then it shows how much sensitivity our Prime Minister has demonstrated towards the women of this country and towards those who are widowed in this tragic manner. Those photographs will be permanently etched on the memories of men and women of this country. But more than that, I would agree with your panelists who say that it was done in a very sensitive manner. We did not show any gung-ho spirit. We did it because we had to do it. It demonstrated the spirit of India. And if they want to escalate, as I said, we are a serious nation. We will think, and then we will do what we have to do. Because somebody has spoken about revenge. So I'd like to say that yes, and it's been rightly said that revenge is a dish best eaten cold. So that means it has to be thought of, and then we do what is to be done. If they escalate tonight, tomorrow or day after, we will decide what to do. But
Squadron Leader Deb, you want to come in on this? Final words?
I would just like to say that whatever has been done through this Operation Sindoor is bang on what was required at this moment. It was done to show them that we are against terrorism. The 9 sites of terrorism, which is the brooding ground from where terrorism is starting in that country, was annihilated. And that was not against the country. It was not against Pakistan. Maybe the message was that if you cannot take care of terrorism, we will do it for you. That was one kind of a message sent. And the message was sent through women because the wrong was done against them. And it is symbolic that if you do wrong against our women, women will come back and we will come back behind these women as a nation to avenge the wrong.
I appreciate all you women for joining us. And I think, we leave, this particular discussion, at least with one thought, that if it has proven to be even, some sort of a balm and some closure, if we can call it that, for the women, the Pahalgam widows who lost their husbands, or to members of the family of the 26 innocent lives that were lost, then the job is done. And to do it with this amount of empathy needs to be commended. A quick break. Stay with us.
Edge 60 Pro, the edge of excellence.
Long night?
You have no idea.
I got you.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro. Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro, the edge of excellence.
नमस्कार, आइए जानते हैं अब तक की बड़ी खबरें प्रेजेंटेड बाय मोटोरोला। पाकिस्तान के पंजाब प्रांत में इमरजेंसी घोषित, ऑपरेशन सिंदूर पर बोले पीएम मोदी, देश के लिए गर्व का पल, मसूद के परिवार के 10 लोग एयर स्ट्राइक में मारे गए।
Warm welcome. You're watching To The Point. I'm Preeti Chaudhary. Viewers, the latest coming in right now. Blackout mock drills are taking place across the country. We're going to get you the latest coming in. Once again, these were all planned mock drills that are taking place. We don't want to sound alarmist. This is not to panic anyone. This was all planned, not reactionary to what happened late last night. This has been part of the civic drills that have been taking place, civic defense drills that have been taking place through the course of the day. And now what we are witnessing is blackout drills, primarily needed to make citizens aware of what they need to do if at all we are in a position of conflict or in a place of war where Pakistan is concerned. Right now, we are close to neither of that. I want to cut across immediately to Dr. Kiran Bedi, former IPS officer and author. She's joining us live right now. Dr. Bedi, appreciate you taking the time and joining us today. First up, Dr. Bedi, your comments on Operation Sindoor, which the government delivered with precision and complete success, and more so with the kind of empathy, with just not the name, but have two women officers front that press briefing coming in from two different faiths.
That is the modern India. That is a progressive India. That's what is a capable India. That's what is all about strong India. And that's what is inclusive India. And that's what is a confident India. This is what India is producing evidence of that. I think it's produced evidence by these surgical strikes, these precision strike, and also do due diligence for 15 days, and then you go to a precision strike, all 9 scored. And and a family, if I believe so, if the information is right, the family of the leader is demolished. So he's got a सबक सीख लिया उसने कि हमारे बच्चों को, हमारी बीवियों को मारा, आदमियों को मारा, उसकी फैमिली भी चली गई. ये हमारी संस्कृति नहीं है. हम ये दिस इज नॉट द वे वी बिलीव कि हमारी मारी तो तुम भी मरे. हम नहीं करते, लेकिन मरवाया तुमने खुद. यू कॉल्ड फॉर इट, एंड यू सी हाउ नेचर जस्टिस इज डन. लॉ ऑफ नेचर. तुमने हमारी फैमिली को बर्बाद किया, तुम्हारी फैमिली भी बर्बाद हो रही. So I think it's we are not for retribution. This is not in our DNA. But if you compel us, then we've proven it that we are. So we have not reacted. We have acted. And action was our duty to do successfully. And we thank all our armed forces, all our and all our leadership. In fact, it's a day of gratitude, not a day of boasting. It's not a day of ego. It's a day of gratitude. And I think with humility, that this is not what we want to do, but if you force us, then we will do it. And we've done it. And we will continue to do it because we've only done 9. There are many others left. Those centers have to be also targeted similarly anytime whenever the leadership so decides. They're all on the radar now.
Dr. Bedi, you know, in the past, where every time India has taken retaliatory action against Pakistan, we've conducted the surgical strikes the last time. These have been, operations that have been delivered, executed with precision. There is so much that goes into it. This time there was something different because not only did we execute an operation with complete precision and a successful operation at that, where we struck 9 terror spots in Pakistan, not just in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, but also mainland Pakistan, province of Punjab, the headquarters of the LET and the Jaish-e-Mohammed. But what we did differently this time, Dr. Bedi, and that needs to be spoken of as well, is to deliver a balm. The vengeance has been wrapped in empathy and a larger messaging of symbolism back home, where even the name of this operation has proven to be solace for, the Pahalgam widows, Operation Sindoor, where you've had 2 women front to the world when they debriefed not India, not Pakistan, but the entire world on what the fine print of Operation Sindoor was. And they came from 2 different faiths. So you also gave a larger message of unity.
That's exactly what I'm saying. India is producing evidence of what it is saying and what India is. This is what, in fact, the female leadership in our armed forces or in the police forces is right at the top. And they're one of the finest officers we have, and they are at the United Nations. United Nations is always asking in peacekeeping more women contingents. Why? Because they've seen how women perform outstandingly well and how they bring peace in the war-torn places where they've been disputed. We've proven to the world. We have not proven. It's evolved. India has evolved. India is very different from what it was even 15 years ago or even 10 years. Every day it's progressing and it's growing and it's showing and it's becoming more equitable and also more inclusive. That's what it's showing. And the kind of precision our armed forces have shown, they've shown all these years of their capability in these last 25, less than half an hour. They showed it, where they're capable of, whether it was land, whether it was air, or whether it was the sea. All three levels. And also our leadership, our governance, how wisely, statesman-like, how restrainedly, how thoughtfully, how maturely they've acted, not reacted.
Dr. Bedi, what do you think was the thought behind? Because usually what we would have seen was a press conference where we would have seen, men belonging to or officers coming in from all three armed forces sitting in a very formal debrief. That didn't quite happen. We had two women officers. This was clearly by intention, by design, to have these two women front the debrief of Operation Sindoor, and also make it a point that they came from two different faiths, because there's a larger cloud and connotation where the communal rhetoric around this operation has also been strong.
Preeti, it's shown. They've shown that what was happening all along, they made them visible today. They've made our strength visible. And this is how India is growing in India. And I think this is where India was arriving, but it was not making them so visible as today they made them visible. And also about both the faiths. Because this is what India is all about. A very tolerant and inclusive India. That's what Indian society is all about. Where it respects each other and allows each other to exercise their own rights and whatever they wish. So I think India has shown this is true India today. But it was the first time when they made both these women visible. I think it was a larger message that this is what India was already nurturing. And it's only recently, thanks to the Honorable Supreme Court and our armed forces and the policies of the government, that this has happened. I would myself address many commanders in the Mao school, many commanders, a large congregation of commanders in the making. You will see more and more women from the combative places right to the top. Very soon another, because they're all in the commander and other situations. We've already had medical doctors at the top of the services, but these are combative where they've shown these. I think it makes India proud and put it in the world of the female world, women world, that India is right at the top.
I'll ask you one final question, Dr. Bedi, before I let you go. Would you think India with this operation has, there's been so much talk over the last 10 days. You've been parts of so many discussions where we speak of deterrence. Has India delivered that deterrence that we've spoken of in the last 10 days?
This is how I feel. I think that's what an ordinary, simple Indian is feeling today. You see those people who'd lost their members of the family in Pahalgam, how the women have felt? They felt as if they've been avenged. I think when I heard them saying today, we feel healed and we feel avenged. I think that is what mattered most. And that's a shared feeling across the length and breadth of this country.
Well, Dr. Bedi, thank you for joining us and taking the time out. And once again, viewers, you cannot emphasize enough on the fact that, yes, this operation was executed, with precision. It's a success, but also the larger messaging that has been delivered. It served as a balm and to some possible closure for what they have gone through over the course of the last 15 to 20 days. And that in itself is huge in terms of messaging and symbolism. Thank you, Dr. Bedi, for taking the time out and joining us. But I want to take you now, viewers, to Operation Sindoor. Why the name Operation Sindoor? Well, it was thought of by the Prime Minister himself. If you remember, viewers, at a rally right after the Pahalgam terror attack, the Prime Minister had made a promise that he will avenge the death of the husbands of the women who lost their husbands in Pahalgam. Listen in to the story of how the Prime Minister picked the name Operation Sindoor. All right, we're going to cut across to that in just a short while. Let's move on and get you the latest blackout drills that are taking place across the country right now. Well, viewers, we had seen civic defense drills this evening, and now what we are witnessing are blackout drills that are taking place across India. And all of this is just a mock drill, not to spread panic, not to be alarmist, but once again, to make sure that the citizens of our country are war ready. We are not going to war yet, but just to make sure that citizens of our country are war ready. This is standard operating procedure. The last time you heard air sirens, we conducted blackout drills, was in the year 1971, viewers, 53 years ago. There are generations in this country that has never seen a war-like situation where these drills could come handy, and just as standard operating procedure, these mock drills have been organized across the country to equip citizens to protect themselves. Earlier this evening, what we had were civic deterrence drills, and now blackout drills. This basically will test emergency infra-like power backup, sirens, communication, prepare systems to operate in degraded or compromised environments, and could be useful if India is faced with an untoward situation or Pakistan embarks on some misadventure. So all of this is only right now a preparation, just mock drills that are taking place across the country. All right, that's the latest that we are getting in. These mock drills taking place across the country, blackout drills. How to prepare for blackout drills? Well, you've got to keep torches avoid stepping outdoors. A blackout drill now taking place in Lucknow, cutting across to my colleague Samarth. Over to you, Samarth.
Well, exactly, Preeti. The mock drill is also happening in Lucknow, and we saw how yesterday civil defense people did the mock drill, and today again they did the mock drill. It started around 7 p.m. We saw the blackout even. We are present at the police lines, as you see in the visuals. CM Yogi Adityanath was also there, and he also left from the space. And if you see the visuals, this was the place where the mock drill actually happened, how the civil defense people saved the civilians, the normal people out here in an attempt to save themselves from any panic-like situation, especially if any enemy country did the airstrike, then how to save yourself. All these things were showed. And you see in the visuals, CM Yogi Adityanath is also right here, meeting the people, meeting the civil defense people out here. And that's the spot where the mock drill actually happened. So what we saw in this particular mock drill, they showed the number one siren. You have to save yourselves by going down, covering your ears, bending down with the help of your elbow. And number two, in the second siren, you have to get up and save the people nearby, because second siren also hints that the danger is gone, while the first siren hints that the missile might be coming from the enemy nation. So you have to be alert, and that are the basic things which each and every citizen have to understand, and that's what is happening in the state of Uttar Pradesh as well. We saw the blackout in Lucknow, we saw the mock drill in Lucknow, and now the same thing is happening in the various districts. Yesterday it was the rehearsal, and by tomorrow we can expect some more.
Package was there, producer is saying.
Schools, colleges, as
के लोगों के साथ बातचीत करते हुए माननीय मुख्यमंत्री महोदय आज ये पूरा का पूरा रोमांच उत्तेजना और जोश से भरा।
Well, exactly, Preeti. As I was telling you about the mock drill thing, this is the visuals out here. Cameraman Sanjay will show you how CM Yogi Adityanath has reached here and also met with a lot of people out here from the civil defense. As you see, the people, men in khaki out here. I'll try to speak to some of the people from civil defense. Join me on India Today TV. थोड़ा बताइए, आप लोग जानकारी दीजिए, आप लोग लाइव हैं, किस तरीके से आप लोग बचाएंगे लोगों को, साइलेंस का क्या महत्व है?
इस साइलेंट का बहुत ज़्यादा महत्व है। जब हमला होगा तो हमारा मेन काम यही है कि जो नॉर्मल पब्लिक है उनको हमें ये बताना है कि किस जगह छुपना है। जब वो छुप जाएंगे फिर देखेंगे जब हमला हो जाएगा तो कितने लोग जो है, जितने लोगों को चोट लगी उनको हम नियरेस्ट में।
आज क्या क्या हुआ है यहाँ मॉक ड्रिल?
आज मॉक ड्रिल में यही हुआ कि जो है ब्लैकआउट हुआ है कि हमें कैसे बचना है, जो बाहर के लोग हैं वो कैसे अपने आप को बचाएंगे, फिर उसके बाद जिनको चोट लग गई है उनको कैसे कहाँ पर ले जाएंगे।
सिविल डिफेंस से आप लोगों को ट्रेनिंग मिली है? अच्छा, महिलाएं भी इसमें हैं?
जी जी।
आप लोग कैसे लोगों को बचाएंगे?
हम लोग जैसे हम लोग ट्रेनिंग दी गई वैसे हम लोग बचा लेंगे, लेकिन उन लोगों ने जो सिंदूर नाम दिया है वो हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी को उन्होंने चैलेंज किया था। उस चैलेंज को हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने बिल्कुल सच करके दिखा दिया। मतलब वो इतने आतंकवादी थे कि उन्होंने वहाँ बोला कि मोदी जी से जाके कह देना, इतनी हिम्मत हो सके आतंकियों में तो इस सारे आतंकियों को चुन चुन को मारा जाए, उसका तब हम लोगों की आत्मा शांति मिलेगी।
एक सिविल डिफेंस होके आप लोग हैं, उसके नाते कितना बड़ा चैलेंज होता है आप लोग के लिए?
ये हम लोग के लिए बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज है कि नॉर्मल पब्लिक को टैकल करना सबसे मुश्किल काम होता है, क्योंकि
पैनिक बड़ा पैनिक में देख रहा हूँ स्टेट वाइड। रिलेटिव्स भी कई फोन कर रहे हैं कि भाई क्या हो जाएगा, उनके लिए क्या संदेश आप लोग देना?
नहीं, इसमें पैनिक नहीं होना चाहिए। जब तक हम लोगों पर, जब तक विरोधी हमसे हमला नहीं करेगा, हम कभी क्यों पहले सतर्क रहें? सतर्क रहने के लिए पहले हम लोग जो है ये मॉक ड्रिल की गई है हम लोगों के लिए।
सतर्क रहें, अपने कर्तव्यों को पूरा करें और हाँ, हम सुरक्षित रहें, औरों को भी सुरक्षित रखें, इसलिए एक प्रोग्राम किया गया है।
So Preeti, you heard them, right? They are from the civil defense and they are trying hard, working hard since yesterday during the rehearsal we saw, and today in front of CM Yogi Adityanath they also did the mock drill and were very active during that particular mock drill. Even fire, some elements were also torched there to give a symbolic look in this particular airstrike.
All right. Samarth, appreciate you joining us once again. Viewers, we want to reiterate, this is just a mock drill which is taking place just to check preparedness where Indian citizens are concerned. Right now, there is no need to panic, not to sound alarmist. We're going to leave it at that. Thank you for joining us. Up next, news and updates continue.
Edge 60 Pro, the edge of excellence.
Long night?
You have no idea.
I got you.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro. Hello, Moto.
हम में से कोई जंग नहीं चाहता। हम लोग जो खासकर जम्मू कश्मीर में रहते हैं, क्योंकि अक्सर बेशतर हमने देखा है, चाहे वो इससे पहले जो वार हुए हों या करगिल हुआ हो, वो कहीं ना कहीं जम्मू कश्मीर को ही हिट कर जाता है। हम तो चाहेंगे कि हालात जो हैं वो दोबारा ठीक बने, लेकिन उसके लिए पहले हमारे जो पड़ोसी मुल्क हैं उनको अपनी बंदूकें शांत करनी होंगी। यहाँ से फिर बंदूक चलेगी नहीं।
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 35 and minimum 24 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 30 and minimum 23 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 41 and minimum 26 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 34 and minimum 26 degrees. Chennai, maximum 35 and minimum 24 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 38 and minimum 23 degrees.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Co-powered by the bold look of Kohler. No stress Phenolics.
Hello and welcome to an India Today special broadcast. It's the biggest counter-terror offensive launched by India in the heart of Pakistan's military jihad infrastructure. At Bahawalpur in southern Punjab province of Pakistan and in Murid Ke, this is heart of Pakistan's Punjab. And the 9 targets included 5 in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir and 4 in Punjab province of Pakistan. This actually hits at the nerve center of that Pakistani Punjabi Musalman mindset that's reflective not just of the Pakistan army but also Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed. And over the course of the next 1 hour, we decode not just the strikes but the road ahead. It's very tricky. The next 24 to 48 hours are going to be very, very tricky. Will Pakistan launch a swift counter-offensive, a swift retort 2.0? What will Pakistan do next? Let's first decode India's big strikes on Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror.
25 minutes. Nine terror targets. Series of precision strikes. Rafales, missiles and drones. One target, Pakistani terror masterminds. Operation Sindoor decoded. Big focus on India first.
Now, this offensive was barely a couple of kilometers away from the 31 Corps headquarters of the Pakistan Army at Bahawalpur. Pakistan also has a secret nuclear facility not far from that area. And just a couple of kilometers away from the 4 Corps headquarters of the Pakistan Army at Murid Ke, or close to Lahore. Murid Ke is where Lashkar-e-Taiba has its headquarters. Now, these attacks would have sent a chill down Pakistan Army's spine. And why? Sandeep Unnithan and I will tell you much more about this over the course of the next 1 hour, and we'll be joined by several military experts and analysts. Now, why? Because the Rafale fighters that can fire the Scalp cruise missile and the Hammer bombs at terror headquarters in Pakistan, if they can fire at the terror headquarters, in case Pakistan dares to escalate, in case Pakistan dares to strike at any military installation, at any brigade headquarters or a division or a corps headquarters in India or a vital asset or vital point, clearly the Pakistan Army Corps headquarters and even our para, the ISI headquarters, the GHQ in Rawalpindi, will they not be directly in the line of fire of the scalps, the hammers, and much more, including the BrahMos supersonic cruise missiles that the Indian Armed Forces have. We get to these details. Will Pakistan escalate? What is the meaning of the blackout exercises that are currently underway across multiple districts in our country? We get you all these details. I'm Gaurav Sawant. As always, let's get started with the headlines on India first. Operation Sindoor bleeds Pakistan terror. Indian missile strikes 9 terror epicenters. Over 80 terrorists eliminated in the precision strikes. India avenges the Pahalgam attack. Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters reduced to rubble. Jaish-e-Mohammed chief, the Maulana of terror, Masood Azhar's family members killed in strike. Real-time images of Operation Sindoor. Videos show how India fired missiles on Pakistan's terror epicenters. Indian missiles rained on terror camps for 25 minutes starting 1:05 a.m. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chose the name Operation Sindoor. Op Sindoor, the name was to avenge Pakistani terrorists targeting Hindus in Pahalgam, leaving many widows and children orphaned. The Prime Minister's message: the loss will be avenged. India holds mock security drills across states. Civilian exercises for blackout measures underway. Briefing being given to civilians on what to do on safety, evacuation, and going to the nearest safe area. Breaking news coming in. Is Pakistan now gearing up for Operation Sindoor 2.0? Is Operation Sindoor 2.0 on the cards? Top government sources are telling India today New Delhi can take similar and go action if on other terrorist bases in Pakistan in the coming hours and days if Pakistan retaliates. The purpose is to tell Pakistan not to escalate. Should Pakistan continue to escalate, whether it's the use of Pakistan armed forces or the use of terror as an instrument of state policy, there will be a befitting response. During the post-operation briefing, and this was a briefing where the Foreign Secretary of India, Vikram Misri, briefed journalists. There was Colonel Sophia Qureshi, a signals officer of the Indian Army, and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh, who spoke to journalists, giving them details about the targeting of Pakistani terror bases. Some were hit, but some more. They are there on that list, and we'll get to that list on India Today. Is there more to the list of Pakistani camps? Now look at that list that we are putting out on your television screen, and we will analyze this list in just a moment from now. Operation Sindoor 2.0. Take a look at that list on your television screen. Multiple targets taken, some that can still be taken. And with me is my colleague Sandeep Unnithan. Sandeep and I have covered counter-terror operations in our country and Pakistani state-sponsored radical Islamist terror bleeding us for decades in the past. And Sandeep, let's take a look at this case. Savai Nala, that's already been targeted. But Sayyidina Bilal, number 2 on that list, that has still not been targeted. And I want to show this. So this is the line of control. Number 2 is right here. That has still not been targeted. What's the signal here, Sandeep?
Gaurav, the signal is very clear. We have hit you in a way that we have never done before, and we can hit you again if you choose to retaliate, if you choose to escalate the offensive. And if Pakistan chooses to escalate, then you will see all of those red lights that are there on that list. Those will be lit up, Gaurav. And these are all those camps, these are all those terror launch pads all along the line of control in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, which we've been hearing of for decades, Gaurav.
Yes.
These have been there from the dawn of militancy. Chela Bandi, Sayyidina Bilal, Dulai, Batrasi, these are all the launch pads. These are the part of the terrorist infrastructure from where Pakistan and the Pakistan army used to launch terrorists across the line of control to carry out terror attacks in Jammu and Kashmir.
Remember, it's very significant. Whatever is being done, the messaging from the government, I want you to understand this messaging. They've put out this entire list of 21. But only 9 have been targeted. It's in plain sight. It's in plain sight for all to see. Those in the red, number 2, number 4, number 6, Dulai, number 8, Batrasi, number 10, Oghi, number 12, Sensa, number 14, Kotli has already been targeted, number 16, Dungi, Barnala has already been targeted, Memuna Joya has been targeted, Sarjal has been targeted, Muridke has been targeted, Bahawalpur has been targeted, but there are several others that have not been targeted. Is that an indication from Government of India? If Pakistan escalates, these can be targeted, but if Pakistan escalates and targets a military installation, because we have no terrorist launch pads, we have no terrorist training camps, India is not a state sponsor of radical Islamist terror the way Pakistan is, so we're a clean country.
Absolutely.
If they target any of these points, you know, you have a brigade headquarters, you have a division headquarters, you have a corps headquarters, and you have actually 3 different corps headquarters in Jammu and Kashmir and more. If that were to happen, the consequences for Pakistan won't just be limited to these terror camps.
Absolutely. It will move on to the Pakistan military, Gaurav. And the messaging from Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri was very clear today. It was a very strong message. But if you read between the lines, he was leaving space for Pakistan to de-escalate. He said that the Indian response was retaliation, it was swift, it was proportionate, and most importantly, there was an element of de-escalation built into his statement. Now, if Pakistan chose to follow that, there would be no strike from Pakistan. But if they didn't, if General Asim Munir decides to become General Parvez Musharraf, for instance, there will be something else coming for him. As you explained, we will have to hit military targets in Pakistan, because the targets that we have on our side of the border, as you said, there is no terrorist infrastructure on our side of the border. If they target Indian military installations, if they target our air bases, if they target our brigade headquarters, corps headquarters, all of that, the response will be this time against the Pakistan military.
And the response this time, because just now it was for effect, and the fact that a Lashkar-e-Taiba headquarters has been targeted, a Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters has been targeted. That was never done before. Remember, we have faced the brunt of Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed terror in our country for decades. We were too polite. We only expected and hoped Pakistan would take action. Perhaps a surgical strike once in 2016, a serious Balakot airstrike in 2019, but that didn't deter the terror state. This time, Terror Central has been hit and hit hard. 9 targets, but multiple missiles, much more than 9 missiles, more than 25 missiles, we are told, is what sources are telling India today, when the headquarters of Jaish-e-Mohammed was targeted in the southern part of Punjab province at Bahawalpur. It's a corps headquarters of the Pakistan Army, 31 corps headquarters. Lashkar-e-Taiba headquarters in Muridke, not very far from the 4 corps headquarters in Lahore. Now, not one, but multiple missile strikes, not just in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir, but also in Pakistan's Punjab province. This is what hurts that Pakistani Punjabi Musalman mindset that wants to target India or creates that Kashmir issue, because that's as many argue, it's restricted from Raiwind to Rawalpindi. It's nowhere else in Pakistan. That is what some people say. Only proper Pakistan wants to wage war against India. The others are quite happy. But there are some reports that say between 80 and 100 terrorists have been neutralized. Can you imagine that the Pakistan army attended the namaz-e-janaza of the terrorists who'd been killed? Pakistan army in uniform, and a wreath was laid on behalf of the chief of the army staff, and a clear indication, which means some VVIP terrorist was clearly neutralized.
अब आतंकियों की बची खुची जमीन को भी मिट्टी में मिलाने का समय आ गया है।
It was a promise made to the nation after the Pahalgam massacre. Now it has been delivered. The 9 targets on the hit list included 3 high-profile targets, Muridke, Bhavalpur and Muzaffarabad. Each of these locations pivotal as they are training and breeding grounds of terror. This is Lashkar-e-Taiba's headquarters in Muridke, just 50 kilometers away from Lahore. The epicenter of terror used to launch terrorists into India. The facility trained the 26/11 Mumbai attackers, including Ajmal Kasab. It hosted conspirators such as David Coleman Headley and Tahawwur Rana. Osama bin Laden had once donated $10 billion to this center. After Operation Sindoor, Hafiz Saeed's terror den is reduced to rubble. Another key location hit, Markaz Subhanallah in Bhavalpur, which houses the Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters. Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Maulana Masood Azhar acknowledged the attacks and accepted that 10 members of his family have been killed in the missile attacks by India. Another mosque linked to Jaish-e-Mohammed was also destroyed. This Jaish-e-Mohammed facility in Muzaffarabad served as a major transit camp for terrorists. Pakistani army officials provided training to terrorists at this camp. Among the other camps destroyed, Bhimbar, Kotli Gulpur, Kotli Abbas camps in POK and Sarjal camp in Sialkot.
The point of impact in each of the target was a specific building or a group of buildings. All the targets were neutralized with clinical efficiency, and the results reiterate the professionalism of the Indian Armed Forces in the planning and execution of their operations. No military establishments were targeted. India has demonstrated considerable restraint in its response.
The victims of Pahalgam have been served justice in a series of punitive strikes on Pakistan. The mission is not over yet. India is on a high alert to foil any retaliation that Pakistan may attempt. Bureau Report, India Today.
There is clear and present danger. Will Pakistan retaliate? Is that what is on Asim Munir's mind? Joining me now on this India Today special broadcast is Lieutenant General Satish Dua, former Chinar Corps commander. Incidentally, he was the corps commander at the time of the post-Uri surgical strike. Also with me is Air Marshal Anil Khosla, former Vice Chief of Air Staff. These are two men who understand the Pakistani mind well, and especially the mind of the Pakistani military. General Dua, will Pakistan retaliate? Will Pakistan retaliate militarily? And if so, in your appreciation, what's that window of Pakistan's retaliation?
Gaurav, allow me 10 seconds to say, before I answer you, to say that it fills me with immense professional pride as to what India has achieved today with all these strikes. The Prime Minister announced to the world that we will get at the terrorists and also their backers and the terror ecosystem. And having seen the earlier surgical strike and the Pulwama, the precision airstrike, I think that message has been well delivered. Coming now to your question. Since India has actually struck at the terror ecosystem, as Prime Minister announced, and you pointed out in great detail over the last 10 minutes. So, not repeating all that, but the fact of the matter is that we have struck only at terrorist headquarters, their training hubs, and other hubs, all told. So, Pakistan has already begun by heating up the LOC. That's something that they always do. They've already started. We've had sad loss of 9 civilian casualties, including a woman and 2 children in Punch Rajouri area. That they've started. But they don't have we don't have terrorist camps here for them to strike. So what will they strike at? Surely, their only targets will be military installations nearby. That means close to the LOC, as they did after Balakot strikes. However ineffective they were, they tried to target some military installations very close to the LOC. So those are the targets that they are likely to hit at present. But India is very well prepared for such a response. You know, such contingencies are always worked out. Whenever these war rooms, you see these discussions taking place. Some of them you don't even see, but some we've been reporting. You have been reporting for the last 10 days or more. So all contingencies are being worked out. We always say these are the options, and then what will happen, what can happen, what can be the consequence, and how are we prepared for that.
Fair enough. General, give me a moment, because I want our viewers to take a look at some videos that India Today reported from ground zero in Muridke. That's right. The year was 2010. And I want you to look at a video that we are about to put out on your television screens for you, where you will see India Today reporting from the terror central, from the headquarters of Lashkar-e-Taiba in Muridke. That is the Lashkar-e-Taiba headquarters. India Today was right there in 2010, barely 2 years after 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. This is Terror Central. We were reporting from ground zero. As you get into that lane in Muridke and you enter, that's the Lashkar-e-Taiba headquarters. And 2010, we were reporting from there. The mastermind of 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. You will see that's behind that red. Look at those armed men who are protecting Hafiz Muhammad Saeed. There is no, you know, they claim it's a madrasa, but it's a terror training camp in Pakistan. We've been reporting that story. Air Marshal Khosla, the entire world knew that was Terror Central. Why is it that it's only in 2025 after Pahalgam that Terror Central has been targeted? Lashkar-e-Taiba headquarters at Muridke and Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters at Bahawalpur. Why not earlier? What makes this strike very different, sir?
Gaurav, the answer to your question is very, very simple. This time they really crossed a red line. And the red line was, you know, they have attacked innocent tourist civilians, unarmed, in front of their wives and children. Really a heinous act. And the patience of Indian military, Indian decision makers, India as a country, Indian citizens has totally run out. And that is why, if you see, like, we are given enough chance to Pakistan to mend its ways. We went escalatory, slowly, after every event. You know, even Balakot, only one target was attacked. In this case, 9 have been attacked, which is a very, very clear-cut message that we have finished now with this cat and mouse game. And if you don't mend your ways, we are going to come in a big way, and we have the capability and we have the resolve now. The whole country is united, and we are going to come for you. That is a big message, and that is why this, as the general said, the ecosystem has been attacked. 9 targets, out of which 2 are the headquarters. Then quite a few are very, very important training centers for jungle training, survival training, suicide bomber training, and also launch pads, which they vacate in any case after any trigger event. So it's a mix of targets, and the message is very, very clear.
Okay. Will this message be read loud and clear by General Asim Munir, Sandeep? You know, if you were to read the jihadi general's mind, a sane general would realize conventionally Indian Army is far superior. This is not a reason to escalate it to a nuclear threshold. Does he have an option to escalate, or he doesn't have an option to escalate? What would Asim Munir be doing? What would those jihadi generals at General Headquarters Rawalpindi be doing?
To go into their jihadi mindset, Gaurav, would be to look at a very unpredictable set of military people. And these military officers of Pakistan who basically planned and executed the Pahalgam attack, that massacre, which was one of the stupidest things to do, because for the first time, Gaurav, let's remember, in all these decades of terrorism, Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. This is the first time that the Pakistan military and the Pakistan army chief is being called out for a terror strike. It's never happened before.
Yes.
Not even in the times of General Pervez Musharraf, the man who planned Kargil and possibly even 26/11 Mumbai. This is the first time that the Pakistan military is being called out for a terror strike. So that is another red line that's been crossed, Gaurav. And to go into his mind, Gaurav, unpredictable as ever. It remains to be seen whether he has the ammunition, he has the resolve to take that escalation ladder that we have shown him.
Or does he realize that we are now more unpredictable than he is? Not even in his wildest dreams would he have thought that India will hit 9 targets across POJK and Bahawalpur and Muridke. Terra Central.
400 kilometers
400
across
kilometers.
Pakistan.
Absolutely.
Gaurav,
And it could have
POK
been
to southern
wider.
Punjab. You're looking at a full swath of territory that has been targeted. So, like you said, the unpredictability is on our side as well. So he must be deeply psyched by what he's been seeing
because he
over the
doesn't
last
know what
couple
we
of
can
hours.
do next.
Exactly.
He doesn't know what
the
we
next
can do
steps,
next.
next steps of the escalation ladder.
And next step, because we are on top of that escalation ladder and I have 2 military experts who will tell us that, because the Indian Navy ships are already in the North Arabian Sea. And then there are a couple of aces up India's sleeve, which he does not know about. And he is no longer friends with his other neighbor across either Afghanistan or Iran. But unlike in the past, why is this counter-terror measure taken by India unprecedented? I want you to take a look at that. Operation Sindoor was technologically extremely robust, expansive, over 400 kilometers from north to south. The mission was an air-to-ground operation involving the deployment of all assets, multi-domain operation, air, sea, land-based assets. For air, fully equipped Rafale Omni-Roll fighter jets of the Indian Air Force operating from deep within the Indian territory. They didn't cross the LC like in Balakot, as in the Mirage 2000s did. Then we didn't have the Rafales in 2019, sadly. But supported by the Su-30 MKIs, the air dominance fighters, the Mirage 2000 multi-role fighters, the mid-air refuelers, the airborne early warning systems, the UAVs, all deployed and vigilant. And I want you to look at these images. These are AI-generated images to give you a fair idea about how this was done. And Air Marshal Khosla, in your appreciation, unprecedented, but the disinformation warfare that Pakistan is waging, from their Defense Minister Khwaja Asif to their DGISPR to their leadership, when they talk about the alleged losses on the Indian side, how would you respond to that disinformation campaign, sir?
Yeah, so disinformation campaign is and propaganda is a part of warfare these days. And DSPR has been very, very active in earlier cases also. And but the only issue is, like they say, nakal ke liye akal chahiye. They've been doing it without, applying their mind and then keep backtracking. Balakot, it happened in one day. They backtracked their 3 of their statements. This time also, if you see, they have been backtracking, making some statements and backtracking. And people realize that, they're just making a fool out of themselves and them. So this is a part of this thing. Gaurav, just allow me 1 minute to, the earlier issue, which was a very, very important issue, which you covered, the mindset of the army chief. To my mind, it's a desperate man trying, is in a desperate situation in the country, and that is why he's taking desperate measure. The country is economically in ruins. Militarily, the country is running on borrowed money, but the same money is being spent on the military. Military is not cut down their expenditure. Actually, it has gone up. And he's losing, he's got problems on all his borders. He's losing credibility. The reason data is, anti-India sentiments. So in this desperation, I think he's taken these steps, but he's chewed more. He's, chewed more than what he can swallow.
Okay.
To my mind, Pakistan's ultimate solution can come only from their citizens, if they realize that they have been taken for a ride and they realize that the army is, taking the country backwards. Okay. That is the only solution to my mind in the long term.
Long term, but short term, the immediate retaliation. General Dua, in your appreciation, has he bitten more than he can chew? Because the Pakistani army mindset, they're supposed to be radical jihadists, but at the same time, you know, many call them a terror army that have access to nuclear weapons, fighter jets, tanks, armored personal carriers, and even ships and submarines. But the same mindset of a Hafiz Saeed and a Masood Azhar. Would he be reacting as if his brothers have been killed? Because what would you make of the wreath laying at a body at Murid Ke, at the mortal remains at Murid Ke, a military guard of honor for the person who was in that coffin, and a wreath laid on behalf of the Chief of the Army Staff of Pakistan?
Gaurav, wreath laying clearly indicates how hand in glove they are with the terrorists, with something that we've known all along and the world has known all along. And talking of mindsets, it is amongst other battles, the kinetic strikes, the Indus water, the diplomatic measures and everything else. Make no mistakes, it is also a battle of the mind space.
Yes.
You see, the kind of data, my phone, my handle has been not hacked. I mean, there is a fake handle going around, passing on vile information from Pakistan side. I have reported that. An hour ago, I was at a channel, Al Arabia channel, speaking with the Pakistan MP Fawad Chaudhry, and the kind of things they spoke, the kind of propaganda they believe in is almost exhausting. So the point I would like to end with is we also must engage in this battle of narratives.
Yes.
And also, I think we have to strike, I think, beyond the terror infrastructure, because the terror infrastructure, like you said, is being run by the Pakistan army. And how do we do it? I think we have to make the Pakistan army unpopular within their country. And it is happening. It is happening after the Indus Water Treaty thing. The riots have started in Sindh. There are protests breaking out in Punjab because the government has ordered them not to sow water-intensive crops. And so it's all of government approach. Different instruments of power have to be applied together.
Okay, that is what India needs to do. I want to take a look. Want you to take a look at some of the reports that we've been filing through the day to day about how these operations were mounted, the kind of weapons and systems that have been used. Sandeep, if we were to talk about India's offensive, this is an offensive which isn't just restricted to Pahalgam. This is an offensive where, from the parliament attack of 2001 to the Akshardham temple attack, and you and I have covered almost all of these, and many of these on ground zero, to the attack that took place at the Chinar Corps headquarters, where a VBIED or a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device was used to target the first VBIED incidentally in Kashmir. It's retribution for all of those.
It's retribution indeed, Gaurav. You and me remember 25 years of Pak-sponsored terrorism in India, across India, mainland India, Jammu and Kashmir. You and me have seen bodies blown to bits of our citizens. We have slipped in the blood of the marble floors of the Akshardham temple, where they massacred civilians at point-blank range, just as they did in Pahalgam. We were always told that the terrorists were coming from Murid Ke, they were coming from Bahawalpur, but there was something about these targets that made them almost unapproachable. They seemed to be, because they were so far inside the Pakistan mainland, 100 kilometers deep, there was a sense of helplessness, Gaurav. You remember that. We were killing all these foot soldiers that were coming into Jammu and Kashmir, and they had an inexhaustible supply of these foot soldiers, because this is an army that sacrifices its own citizens, Gaurav.
Absolutely.
4 decades, they have used their citizens as firewood to keep that fire in Jammu and Kashmir burning. And these are not citizens from only Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, Gaurav. They've come from Pakistan's Punjab province. And
look at Ajmal Amir Kasab, for example.
Ajmal Amir Kasab, 9 of the 10 26/11 attackers were from Pakistan's Punjab province. All over Punjab province, which has now been attacked for the first time since the 1971 war, Gaurav. This is retribution for 25 years of Pakistan-sponsored terrorism. Pakistan Army-sponsored terrorism, Gaurav.
Absolutely. I want you to look at this ground report that my colleague Shivani Sharma, who's in Uri, right at the line of control. She's filed this report, but before that, I want you to take a look at this. Markaz-e-Taiba Murid Ke. This is Lashkar-e-Taiba's headquarters in Pakistan. Look at that. After hit 2. It's almost music to your ears when you hear after hit 3, after hit 4, all of that. Because remember, India has been a victim of this Pakistan state-sponsored radical Islamist terror for decades. decades. It's finally retribution, perhaps only stage one. Lots more perhaps needs to be done in the days, weeks and months ahead. But before I get you more on that story, I bring you this report by my colleague Shivani Sharma on Ground Zero in Uri.
After the biggest ever strike in Pakistan on the terror outfits, we are now at the LOC. India Today is the only channel at the LOC right now where the shelling has been happening since last night and the ceasefire violations continued for 13 days. But yesterday there was heavy fire from these posts that you see. This is the zero line at the line of control in Uri sector, where Pakistan has been firing shells. Heavy artillery gunfire was reported through the night yesterday in multiple sectors, and this was one of those sectors. And in this area, a number of houses have been damaged, though there is no casualty reported. But in Poonch sector, there are 10 casualties that have been reported. Big damage to the houses. The Indian Army has responded befittingly, implicating big damages to Pakistan's army, the military assets out there. But this area has become the epicenter of the escalating situation of tensions between India and Pakistan. I have the locals with me. I have Mr. Mir, who stays here. I'll talk to him. Mir साहब, सबसे पहले ये बताइएगा कि इस वक्त ऑपरेशन सिंदूर चलाया है भारत ने, पाकिस्तान के जो आतंकी ठिकाने हैं उनको नेस्त नाबूद किया है, बहुत सारे आतंकी खत्म हुए हैं, लेकिन यहाँ पर रात में क्या हो रहा था और यहाँ से थोड़ा हमें ज्योग्राफी समझाएगा कि कितनी दूर है हम पाकिस्तान से?
तो 2 बजे के आसपास जो है पाकिस्तान ने हैवी जो है शेलिंग यहाँ पे की, जिसकी वजह से हम लोग बहुत दहशत और डर में पैदा हो गए हमारे लोग। वैसे हम डरने वाले नहीं हैं, हम अपने बॉर्डर के ऊपर रहने वाले लोग हैं, हम डरने वाले नहीं हैं, लेकिन फिर भी जो उन्होंने जो है बिना इश्तियाल जो है आर्टी शेलिंग यहाँ पे की है, उसके लिए हमारी इंडियन आर्मी ने उनको पूरा जवाब दिया है। पाकिस्तान की पोस्टें आप यहाँ से सामने देख रहे हो, ये जो आपको सामने रिज दिख रहे हैं ये पाकिस्तान की पोस्टें हैं, और उन्होंने जो है यहाँ पे जो है आज रात को जो है बिना इश्तियाल फायरिंग की, जिसकी वजह से हमारे लोग थोड़े से दहशत में हैं।
We'll try and see the damage of the shelling that has happened through the night here. As the situation is still evolving and escalating, we've been hearing that India is still into deliberations onto what is to be done after this ceasefire violation is being done by Pakistan at the borders, because after the Operation Sindoor was conducted in multiple locations, in fact 9 terror outfits, India has decided to go on with retaliation after the ceasefire has been violated. So we'll try and show you how these heavy artillery gunfires have damaged these villages, their properties. So one of these houses here in this village has witnessed heavy gunfire and heavy fires from the artillery guns of Pakistan. You can see the broken mirrors and broken glasses of this house, and there are multiple other splinters that have hit this place, and there are shell marks on the trees also. So this is how these people have been witnessing heavy gunfires of the RT guns from Pakistan last night, and since 13 days the ceasefire violations have been on. आप यहाँ पे रहते हैं, आप ही का घर है ये?
ये हमारा घर है।
तो आपने कल रात को क्या देखा, क्या हो रहा था?
जनाब हमने देखा रात को 2 बजे के बाद जब फायर की आवाज आई, हम उठे तो बस फिर शलंग हो रही थी 2 तरफ से, एक तरफ से नहीं 2 तरफ से हो रही थी, तो फिर हम भागने में नहीं बराबरी आई।
कहाँ पे ये निशान हम देख रहे हैं, पेड़ों पे कुछ निशान आए हैं? और
ये तो सामने निशान है ना, उस वक्त तो हम तो छुपे थे, कहीं जंगल में जाकर कहीं पहाड़ी में जाके थे, छुपे थे, छोटे छोटे बच्चे थे उनको लेके छुपे थे।
So this is one family in Uri sector that has witnessed the ceasefire violations with heavy gunfire of Pakistan. You see the broken glasses and broken tree branches here, and they are in fear that if the tensions escalate between India and Pakistan, the situation will get serious and grave, and they do not have any place to go if this situation escalates, because Pakistan has been violating ceasefire since last 13 days after the Pahalgam attack. And yesterday, when Operation Sindoor was being conducted, Pakistan started firing heavy artillery in this whole region. And this is an exposed area from Pakistani post. This is zero line at the border, India-Pakistan border in Uri sector, where these villagers remain exposed. And in Poonch, 10 lives have been lost in this shelling from Pakistan's side. Pakistan is actually not sparing the Kashmiris too. And this is how Pakistan has been reacting after the Pahalgam attack, when action was taken and demanded against terror. But India has been quite clear that it will keep its war against terror on. And here, if the shelling continues, the villagers might have to look for a safe place. Many villagers have left these places already, and many are looking for safe place, and they want that peace should be there in this area, especially because this remains exposed to Pakistani posts that have been shelling on these areas, and their houses are now damaged. This is Shivani, camera person Nasir Aziz Khan for India Today from Zero Line at India-Pakistan border.
India's unprecedented strikes on Pakistan's state-sponsored radical Islamist terror in Pakistan-occupied Jammu and Kashmir and in Pakistan's Punjab province. What does this mean and the road ahead? Joining me now on this India Today special broadcast are two former chiefs of the Indian Armed Forces. General Ved Malik, former Chief of Army Staff at the time of the Kargil War when India defeated Pakistan, and also Air Chief Marshal Fali Homi Major, who was the Chief of the Air Staff during 2611. He'd sought permission to hit across at that time. Sadly, it wasn't given then. And Air Chief Marshal Major, that time permission wasn't given. This time, when you look at the kind of strikes that have happened across the spectrum, what's that first thought that goes through your head, sir? And can you describe the kind of effort that would have gone into these kinds of strikes?
Good evening, Gaurav, and thank you for having me here.
Good evening, sir.
And good evening, General, sir.
Good evening, sorry.
You know, Operation Sindoor, in my opinion, is a masterpiece.
Go on, sir.
Perhaps one of the most well-planned, well-calibrated, wonderfully conceptualized, and executed wonderfully in a joint effort. The 9 targets which were hit, probably by maybe 60, 70, 100 projectiles, you know, whether they were air to ground, surface to surface, loitering ammunition, whatever it was, involves a huge amount of planning. And finally, the flawless execution, which was done, is commendable, and I congratulate our armed forces for this wonderful achievement.
Okay, General Malik, you understand the Pakistani mind better than most. You did not trust General Pervez Musharraf at all. And we are told that General Asim Munir is perhaps a couple of notches even worse than what General Pervez Musharraf or Ziaul Haq were. Your understanding of this operation and how this would be received in General Headquarters in Rawalpindi, the Pakistan Army Headquarters?
Gaurav, it will affect not only his own image, but also image of the Pakistan Army to what has been done by our forces today. And we have to keep that in mind. Now, as far as the terrorists are concerned, people who have been killed at different terrorist camps in Pakistan, they are a cannon fodder for them. So that doesn't really affect them, the Pakistan Army. But his own image has taken a hit. As you would have heard, one of the Pakistani chaps in Bhavalpur, when the firing took place, when the rocket hit Bhavalpur seminary, saying कि हमारी फौजें कहाँ हैं, हमारी फौजें कहाँ हैं. So the fact is that the image of the Pakistani has been affected or has been hit in Pakistan. And looking at his own mindset, his own ambitions, and looking at the image that has been affected in Pakistan, I have a feeling that Pakistan Army will retaliate somewhere.
Okay.
Otherwise, it affects their image in the whole of Pakistan. So we should expect something to happen in the near future. We should be prepared for the worst. And if it doesn't happen, so be it. I think we will all be lucky, both in India and Pakistan.
Okay.
But the mindset of Pakistan Army and its leader today, it shows to me, or it gives me an impression that we should expect some retaliation from their side.
You know, I heard that voice saying, Hamari Fauje kahan hai? Air Chief Marshal Major, does this completely expose the weaknesses in Pakistan's air defense system, incapable, caught off guard, though they were on a state of highest alertness? The fact that government officially says, or government sources are talking about maybe 20, 30, 40 projectiles. You say it could be 70, 80, probably even more, that hit 9 targets, and you say it was quite like a saturation attack. What does that say of Pakistan's air defense system and their air force?
I'll sum this up very simply, that if all these projectiles went across and not one was intercepted, it only means that their air defense system now is hollow. And perhaps we have certain countermeasures incorporated along our line of control and international border, as well as in the weapons themselves or the platforms themselves, which have made this possible. But, you know, the whole day we've been discussing these matters very seriously. So let me come in lighter vein. After what has happened early this morning, if Asif Munir, the political leadership, or whatever is left of him in Pakistan, have a little bit of respect and responsibility, they should actually request permission from Prime Minister Modi, and both of them should fly down to India with folded arms and tell us, thank you very much for having eliminated the terror infrastructure in our country.
Oh, absolutely. A sane mind would do that.
Because they've always claimed that we are the victims of terror.
Yes.
So now today, let us remind them that we've sorted out your problem. Come, be bold enough and man enough to come to us and thank us for eliminating your terror infrastructure.
Except, I completely agree with you, Air Chief Marshal, except that there was a wreath that was laid on the mortal remains of perhaps a terrorist. We do not know. One body which was, the entire Pakistan Army, deployment there. There were men in uniform, General Malik, who were lifting that coffin, and there were wreaths that were being laid on behalf of the Corps Commander, the GOC, and the Chief of the Army Staff. And what would that indicate if somebody has died in Murid-ke in an Indian missile strike and the Chief of the Army Staff lays a wreath? What is the signal there? And if I may, you said that they will retaliate. In what form is, in your understanding, sir, would that retaliation be?
Gaurav, if you recall, Pervez Musharraf had, in one of the interviews, he had said that these are my children.
Yes.
He used the word children as far as these terrorist organizations of Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed are concerned. So I'm not surprised that the Pakistan Army and its brass has gone to Murid-ke to lay the wreath. That should be expected. Now, so as far as the retaliation is concerned, I don't think, we don't have any terrorist camps.
Yes.
So if they want to hit anywhere in India, it will either be a civilian asset that we have got, some important economic asset, or it could be Pakistan, Indian Army asset somewhere. But then when they do that, they will also have to realize that we will be further retaliating from our side and with a stronger mission on their side. But as I said, if they stop it, nothing like it will be good for both countries. But if they don't, we should be prepared for the worst.
And in your appreciation, Air Chief Marshal Major, are we on top of that escalation ladder that is often spoken of when it comes to conventional or sub-conventional warfare? They use terror as an instrument of state policy. So, you know, they could send 10 more terrorists and target civilians in our country once again. But the cost for us, if we were to once again employ or deploy the kind of resources India did, again, is he bleeding us by this low-cost terror war?
If any sense prevails in them, they must lie low. Because in case they think or even dream of retaliating this strike on their 9 targets early this morning, they're asking for huge trouble. Because don't forget one thing, that before the strike on those 9 targets are carried out, the retaliatory ladder was already addressed in the planning of striking these 9.
Yes.
So it doesn't mean that we've just hit those 9 targets and we are relaxed at home. No. The entire armed forces are on high alert. The paramilitary forces are on high alert. And they dare not, if they have any wisdom left in them, they dare not retaliate, because this retaliation will probably not just cost them a few, very valued targets, but it might ruin that country forever and ever.
Forever and ever, you say. I mean, those are very strong words. General Malik, would the Pakistani retaliation, since all your lives you wargame this, would it be restricted to cross-border or cross-LC hotting up of the line of control, use of medium artillery, 155mm howitzers? And if I may, before the Ramzan ceasefire and after Kargil war, you had carried out punitive strikes against the Pakistani army along the LC. And if I remember correctly, that time even in the Leh-Ladakh sector, doesn't that bleed Pakistan even more?
Look, firstly, I totally agree with what Air Chief Marshal Fali Major has said just now, that there will be a very strong retaliation. And it is good for them to realize, for the Pakistan army to realize that. But then I don't consider Pakistan army and its present leader to be very rational in thinking. That's the unfortunate part. Having said that, yes, whatever is already going on along the line of control, that is one kind of retaliation which is they are taking. And they might hit some more villages on our side of the line of control, or even international border in the Jammu-Kathua sector. That is also a possibility. I'm also reminded of post-Kargil war.
Yes.
For one year almost, they made full use of whatever sleeping cells that they had on our side to cause a considerable amount of terrorist activity in Doda, Kishtwar, etc. And so that also cannot be ruled out. We have to be alert both along the line of control, international border, as well as inside. And retaliatory action, as it is, the kinetic action has already started off.
Okay.
And one thing good is that we are very strong today as compared to what we were in during Kargil war. And that strength gives us the ability to control escalation, to be able to dominate escalation.
So we dominate that escalation ladder, and I'd love to have both of you back on this debate in the coming days on the escalation ladder, specifically on the rungs of the escalation ladder and how we dominate it. I've run out of time on this part of the debate, but always such a privilege to have you on this broadcast, General Malik and Air Chief Marshal Fali Major. Learned so much from you, during Op Vijay, and of course during 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks, and subsequently on air operations and more. That is all that I have for you on this special broadcast of India First. Many thanks for watching. Stay safe. I'll be back tomorrow night at 8 with much more on India's robust response to Pakistan's state-sponsored radical Islamist terror and much more. Stay tuned.
Edge 60 Pro, the edge of excellence.
Long night?
You have no idea.
I got you.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro. Hello, Moto.
Motorola Edge 60 Pro, the edge of excellence.
नमस्कार, आइए जानते हैं अब तक की बड़ी खबरें प्रेजेंटेड बाय मोटोरोला। पाकिस्तान के पंजाब प्रांत में इमरजेंसी घोषित, ऑपरेशन सिंदूर पर बोले पीएम मोदी, देश के लिए गर्व का पल, मसूद के परिवार के 10 लोग एयर स्ट्राइक में मारे गए।
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
So sorry.
Ui, ada.
Presented by JK Tire Puncture Guard. Say goodbye to flat tire. Co-powered by the bold look of Kohler.
India strikes back. 25 minutes, 9 terror hubs, 70 dead terrorists. Pakistan blindsided by Indian forces. Terror targeted, terror eliminated. Jaish-Lashkar headquarters in ruin and rubble. India's Operation Sindoor.
Good evening, hello and welcome. You're with the news today on this big news day where India's mission to crush Pakistan-based terror has taken a major step forward. Operation Sindoor has targeted the headquarters of the Jaish-e-Mohammed and the Lashkar-e-Taiba. And that in itself has sent a powerful message to Rawalpindi and the Pakistan headquarters. How is this all going to play up? Will we see a de-escalation? What's the message sent out by India's Operation Sindoor? We're going to look at that very closely, bring you all the fact checks and tell you all that's happened in the last 24 dramatic hours. News without the noise. We will focus on journalism, not jingoism. Here are the top developments at this moment. India early Wednesday has carried out Operation Sindoor, a precise and measured strike. Indian forces have hit 9 terror sites in Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. As per government sources, over 80 suspected terrorists are killed in the operation that took place around 24 minutes with 9 terror strikes. Among the targets were 2 prime terror hubs, the mosque Masjid Taiba that serves as a headquarter for the Lashkar in Murudke in Punjab, and the Jaish-e-Mohammed headquarters in Bahawalpur, also in Pakistan's Punjab province, were also hit. Jaish Chief Masood Asar has in fact issued a statement confirming that many members of his family have been killed. After the strikes, Pakistan retaliated with ceasefire violations using heavy artillery along the LOC, hitting Poonch and Tangdar, resulting in at least 15 civilian deaths and several people having to get evacuated. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has briefed President Draupadi Murmu about Operation Sindoor. Earlier today, he chaired a cabinet meeting. Home Minister Amit Shah has held a separate meeting with chief ministers and top officials of border states. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh making a public statement stressing India had only targeted terror camps, not military or civil infrastructure in Pakistan. Amidst the heightened tension, Union Home Minister Amit Shah has directed chiefs of all paramilitary forces to call back their personnel who are on leave. India on high alert for any Pakistani counter-attack. Pakistan's Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif has addressed the National Assembly of his country. He confirmed 26 deaths in the Indian strikes. Sharif said his government has authorized the army to decide on the response that they need to take now. Security drills have been conducted across India to prepare civilians in case of a hostile attack. Several states conducting blackouts as part of the civil defense drills. Prime Minister Modi will chair an all-party meeting on Friday and brief opposition leaders on Operation Sindoor as well as the security measures in place. All parties have wholeheartedly backed the anti-terror strikes launched by India. Flight operations at some Indian airports have been shut, particularly those close to the India-Pakistan border or in the vicinity of key Indian Air Force bases. No civil flights will be operated to Srinagar Airport. Reacting to India's attack on Pakistan terror bases, US President Donald Trump has urged India and Pakistan to end the conflict soon. While most countries urged India and Pakistan to de-escalate, only China expressed regret on India's Operation Sindoor. Let's turn from there to the very latest that we are getting to you this evening. Now, the evacuations are taking place across the line of control in villages from Uri, Poonch and Rajouri, which have been the subject or the target of heavy Pakistani shelling, especially Uri and Poonch in particular. In fact, Poonch is where at least a dozen casualties have been reported. Indian forces now are also responding in kind to the Pakistani shelling on high alert across the LOC. As I said earlier, 15 civilians reportedly killed in Pakistan shelling near LOC is what the army is confirming as of now. So all the focus now at the moment is on the LOC. Remember last night India went deep into Pakistan, and we'll come to that in a moment. But first, to find out what's happening at the line of control, Shivani Sharma joins me. She's near the LOC. Sunil G. Bhatt, our correspondent, is also near the LOC. First you, Shivani, the Indian Army confirming at least 15 casualties, civilian casualties. Unlike India, which is targeting terror infrastructure in Pakistan, Pakistan seems to be now indiscriminately firing at villages along the border, along the LOC. What more can you tell us?
Rajdeep, I'm right now in the Uri sector close to the LOC, and we've been visiting the LOC and the farthest villages out there, and there the houses have been damaged in heavy artillery firing that has happened yesterday past midnight. And 15 casualties have been reported in the Poonch sector and Mendha sector, where we've seen how people have been injured and they are evacuated. They are leaving their houses. And Uri also, this picture remains grim because Pakistan is now targeting the innocent civilians, while the Indian Army has been retaliating and responding with their strikes at the military posts of Pakistan and not the civilians along the line of control. So now Pakistan seems to be perturbed after the strikes happened yesterday, and Operation Sindoor is a successful operation where 9 precision strikes happened, but the aftermath seems to be worrying the people along the line of control, because there Pakistan started heavy artillery firing yesterday. Remember, for 12 days it was also violating the ceasefire with small arms, but yesterday it started heavy artillery firing. So there's a sense of worry in the people here in Uri sector too, and the alerts are on a high.
Sunil, you're also near the LOC. What we've seen places like Poonch, number of families, innocent civilians suddenly finding themselves being targeted by heavy artillery firing. Tell us more about the ground situation where you are.
Rajdeep, right now I am in Poonch district of Jammu and Kashmir, and Poonch district is the worst affected because Pakistan resorted to heavy shelling since hours, and people are facing the brunt of Pakistani shelling. A rattled Pakistan is targeting innocent people, not just near the line of control, but even in Poonch city. Rajdeep, people living in Poonch city have been targeted, and I visited Poonch district and I have filed ground reports from there. Most of the city is empty. People have fled, and the town wears a deserted look. It's a curfew-like situation. Many houses have been damaged due to Pakistani shelling.
Is the shelling continuing?
12 people are confirmed that they have... Shelling has stopped, Rajdeep, but it has created massive panic in Poonch city. People have fled. I have seen that how people were fleeing. Some of them went in their own vehicles. Some of them were fleeing on foot, and there was massive panic among people. They were under fear, and they were saying that they fear for their lives because 12 people have lost their lives in Pakistani shelling in Poonch district alone, and more than 40 people are injured. They have been admitted in different hospitals. They are battling for their lives. Even innocent children have been targeted by Pakistani army. So it's clear that Pakistan is trying to escalate tensions here along the line of control, and Pakistan is targeting innocent people, non-combatants, and even Poonch city has not been spared. I spoke to many people there. They are saying that a situation like this was witnessed in 1971 when Poonch city was targeted. So people are under immense fear. That is why I saw that large number of people have already fled Poonch city, and the town own beer said deserted. Look, high alert has been sounded across the length and breadth of Jammu and Kashmir, particularly in the areas along the line of control and India-Pakistan international border. And that is why administration is also evacuating people who are living near the line of control or near the India-Pakistan international border, because they are vulnerable sections of people. That is why administration is also making contingency plan, and people are being evacuated and taken to safer areas. Rajdeep.
Okay. As you can see, that's what's happening along the LOC. Shivani and Sunil, stay safe. Pakistan targeting civilian areas along the LOC. But India has struck at terror and terror camps in Pakistan. Not just in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, but in Pakistan's Punjab province, the headquarters of the Jaish-e-Mohammed in Bahawalpur and the Lashkar-e-Taiba in Muridke. The attack coming, remember, exactly 2 weeks after the deadly terror attack on civilians in Jammu and Kashmir's Pahalgam. The government said the actions have been focused, measured and non-escalatory in nature, adding that no Pakistani military facilities had been targeted. It's an operation that in a sense has sent a firm message to Islamabad and Rawalpindi. Take a look at just what happened late last night.
India avenges terror. At around 1:05 a.m. in an operation involving the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force, fighter jets and drones rained missiles and bombs at multiple terror camps at 9 locations, 5 in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and 4 in Pakistan. In terms of scale and significance, the mission, codenamed Operation Sindoor, was the biggest since 1971 war. Much higher in the escalatory ladder compared with 2019 Balakot bombing. Operation Sindoor targeted terror outfits that were behind Parliament attack, 26/11 Mumbai attacks and the most recent Pahalgam massacre. Among the 9 locations hit were Bahawalpur, the base of Maulana Masood Azhar's Jaish-e-Mohammed, and Muridke, the headquarters of Hafiz Saeed's Lashkar-e-Taiba. Muzaffarabad and Bhimber had previously been identified by Indian security agencies as transit and logistic points for infiltration into Kashmir. At a press briefing on Wednesday morning, the Indian government gave proof of the anti-terror strikes.
ऑपरेशन सिंदूर 22 अप्रैल को पहलगाम में हुए विभत्स आतंकवादी हमले के शिकार मासूम नागरिकों व उनके परिवारों को न्याय देने के लिए लॉन्च किया गया था। इस कार्रवाई में 9 टेररिस्ट कैंप्स को टारगेट किया गया और पूरी तरह से इसे बर्बाद किया गया।
No military establishments were targeted. India has demonstrated considerable restraint in its response. However, it must be said that the Indian armed forces are fully prepared.
The operation that started around 1:05 a.m. ended at 1:30 a.m., lasting 25 minutes. At 1:57 a.m., Pakistan confirmed the Indian attack. By 2:40 a.m., Pakistan began its retaliation, violating the ceasefire on the line of control. While the operation was extensive, no Pakistani military installations were targeted.
India exercised its right to respond and preempt, as well as deter more such cross-border attacks. These actions were measured, non-escalatory, proportionate, and responsible.
India has sent out a strong message. Terror will not go unpunished. The ball is now in Pakistan's court. Will they learn their lesson or attempt another misadventure? Bureau Report, India Today.
And this time there is clear visual evidence that Pakistan and the terror links that it has have been struck at by the Indian armed forces. There is a video which has now emerged of Pakistani army honoring the killed terrorists in Muridke. Muridke is the Lashkar-e-Taiba headquarters. Pakistan Army generals can be seen at the terrorist funeral. The soldiers are carrying coffins. The funeral of terrorists Qari Abdul, Khalid and Mudassir in Murudke was led by a Lashkar terrorist. That's the significance of this. Hafiz Abdul Rauf and several members of the civil bureaucracy stood there in attendance. In fact, there is a wreath placed by the Chief of Army Staff for the Muridke terrorists. So clearly, this has struck at the hub of terrorists in Muridke at the Lashkar headquarters. And remember, as I said earlier, Masood Azhar has also admitted through a statement issued from his office that at least 10 members of his relatives and 4 key associates have died in the Indian strike. What does all of this mean? How should we interpret Operation Sindoor? Are we now on an escalatory ladder? Those are the questions I want to pose. Joining me now, Colonel Ajay Shukla, Consulting Editor, Strategic Affairs and a Strategic Affairs Analyst. Lieutenant General Rakesh Sharma joins me, former Adjutant General. KC Singh, former Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs. Air Marshal BPS Rana is with us as well, and will be joined by other guests right through, including former Chiefs of Staff. I appreciate all of you joining us on the show today. I want to come to you, Lieutenant General Rakesh Sharma. What's your big takeaway from what has happened in the last 24 hours, purely in military terms? How significant is Operation Sindoor, the fact that we went all the way into Bahawalpur and Muridke and targeted terror camps?
Thank you, Rajdeep, for inviting me. The first and foremost is that we broke the glass ceiling. We crossed the Rubicon of hitting Punjab for the first time from 1971. We have been targeting POK over a long period of time, but hitting Punjab, which is the heartland of the Pakistan Army, is also the heartland of Pakistan in Sialkot, in Bahawalpur, and in Muridke. All 3 places would have hurt Pakistan psychologically. It would have affected tremendously. That's one major issue. Second is that we have made sure that there is an escalation dominance. We did not do general mobilization. We did not order leaves to be cancelled largely. And we carried out all these operations, giving clear indication that we have no intention of escalation to conventional war. So that became a clear hindrance to Pakistan in planning their operations thereafter. And third issue, which major one, is that there is now a ceasefire violation. The ceasefire, which was standing for last couple of years, is deemed as dead. And that's what the issue which now Pakistan is taking advantage of, which your correspondents, Shavani and all, were talking just now. So the fact of the matter is that there is a ceasefire violation. There are 600 kilometers of villages all along the line of control, right up to Samba, opposite Samba, which are targetable. It's not Poonch, Uri and Titwal alone, but there are areas of Nashera, of Joria, of areas of Kathua. So, there's a vast variety, large number of people who are tilling other side of the line of the fence. And these are becoming now areas. And the LG today morning ordered these people to be withdrawn. Sorry?
Right. And no, I get your sense. You made a very important point there about the first time we've broken a kind of Rubicon when we've gone into Punjab since 1971, when we've targeted Muridke and Bahawalpur. Ajay Shukla, do you believe that that is the big significance we've shown using missile technology, using our air power as well as military power to send out a message that we can do precise targeting? When I look at that statement of the that was issued last night by the government of India, it was very clear that these were measured, de-escalatory and focused targeted attacks.
Yes, there is no doubt about that. The entire planning of this current sort of trans-border incident has been done with a lot more sense and a lot more effort and a lot more sort of thought than had been done in the last 2 times when the surgical strikes were there and then followed by the Pulwama sort of truck attack. It is in a way the Indian Army getting ready for a new kind of war, putting its drills and so on in their place. In the morning today, the army had held a press conference where it showed the evidence of what it was trying to prove. It showed the evidence, the visual evidence of the buildings and so on, which were struck by the bombs from the Indian side. And all in all, it is just becoming more professional, more sort of clear, and with that, all that makes it easy for the spectators or for the people from abroad or from the international media to actually come and put together the thing and verify the story, as it were. So there are still a couple of things that need to be clarified and sort of presented. One of them being this allegations about the downing of Indian aircraft. But I'm sure that going by what I've seen today, the Indian Army probably would be able to muster up the evidence.
But there is no verifiable evidence as yet that Pakistan has provided, Ajay, on their claim that 5 Indian jets have been downed.
Yes, there absolutely has not been. Whatever little evidence I've seen is, a few parts of an aircraft lying here or there. That could be anything. It's not necessarily an Indian Air Force fighter plane that was down today. In fact, that evidence, the downing today and the freshness of the crash site is something that is very important at this point in time. But yeah, absolutely right. There has been no concrete evidence presented by the Pakistanis yet.
Marshal VPS Rana, the significance of what we've seen today, purely in terms of the kind of precision strikes, wherein air power and artillery power and military power has been used. You're on mute, sir. Yes.
Yes, Rajiv. So there are some very, very peculiar things about this particular attack. The first time India has done the preemptive. You please remember in 71 and earlier, it was always the Pakistan which had done the preemptive. This is the first time we have done preemptive, and we have done in Punjab, which you rightly covered. This is the first time that the terror network deep inside has been struck. But what is the most important point in this attack is, one, it is the selection is very, very careful. Each and every site has been linked to the previous terrorist attack. Then another important point is that the attack has been very, very precise. Third important point has been, it has been a synergized approach by the Army and Air Force combined. And probably that was the time taken where it has been a little delay. Probably was this to synergize all effort, all kind of weapons that have been used, the organic weapon of the army, the UAVs, most likely it has been the air-launched cruise missiles, and also probably the other precise munition. So it is very, very carefully chosen, well-calibrated, very precise attack, not targeting any military, not having any collateral damage whatsoever. So thereby telling and signaling that we can go to wherever we want precisely, deep inside.
So you're saying it's been in that sense taken to another level, and that brings me, KC Singh, to a critical element of what we are seeing. When Uri happened, there was an element of deniability that Pakistan had, that we've suffered no damage. When Balakot happened, the Pakistanis said we've suffered no damage. This time, India has provided real-time evidence, both in its press conference, admirably conducted by 2 women officers, where they gave precise information, real-time video evidence, visual evidence, backed by the likes of Masood Azhar admitting that Jaish associates and family members have suffered losses by Lashkar holding funerals of their terrorists in Muridke. That seems to me the big difference. Would you agree that therefore this particular attack will carry far greater weight across global capitals as well?
Well, I'd like to add a few dimensions to it. One is, of course, under the UN Charter, Article 51 permits you self-defense, including a preemptive attack. So what we've done is not illegal. It's permissible under the UN Charter. But more than that, it was also retaliatory. And that's what Prime Minister said in his speech, that we will hunt these guys who have done what they have done in Pahalgam. So it's not just a preemptive attack, it's also a retaliatory attack. But you're absolutely right. Going into Punjab and to the headquarters of Jaish and Lashkar, it's always been thought of, always, I think, after 26/11. Probably it was considered, then the Americans stepped in because they were still in Afghanistan. We didn't do it. But the other, elephant in the room is the nuclear capability of Pakistan. So there's a nuclear bluff that Pakistan has been using, and it is not a coincidence that Pakistan starts using terror against India as a weapon from about the end of 1980, when they already had developed the nuclear weapons. They didn't do that earlier. So the two things go together. And that's why about a week ago, when I'd written a piece and I said, before we go after the headquarters of these groups, we need a good missile defense. We need something like what Israel has. Then you don't need blackouts and so on and so forth. The signal goes out to Pakistan that 5 or 6 major cities will be protected and your missiles will have 2 chances in 100 to penetrate. But once you fire them, we'll obliterate you, which means you eliminate Pakistan's nuclear bluff. This time we've gone without that, but we are calling their bluff because after all, see, even Ukraine is fighting Russia. Russia keeps saying, I'll use nuclear weapons. But countries cannot use nuclear weapons just whimsically. They'll not be acceptable globally. So we have called their bluff. We said we are doing it. Now, let's see what you want to do next. And that is why I think it's important how Pakistan reacts. Will it be just symbolic, like they did last time? They kind of came and hit outside a military facility, and they said, that's it. But they had also downed one of our planes, and so on and so forth. Now, this time they are again claiming they have downed 5 planes. Interestingly, India has not spoken up. We've not denied it. We've not questioned it. It may be useful if they think that can satisfy the Pakistani public opinion and they need not retaliate very harshly. Then we can probably come to some kind of an understanding. But the problem that still remains is the use of water. Because we've said the Indus Water Treaty is in abeyance. We started stopping and releasing water and therefore showing that water can be a weapon. That'll also be in the Pakistani minds. And therefore, what is interesting is, do they do a symbolic attack or do they choose specific targets? I'm worried about one thing. One of the MPs said, you've gone after our mosques, we'll go after your temples. Now, if they start going after some prime temples in the Jammu area, that can worsen the polarization in India. And the second is, if they come after, just one point, if they come after the dams that we have in Jhelum and Chenab and say, because India is stopping the water, we are taking it out, that'll be very popular in Pakistan, but that would escalate it. So I don't know where Pakistan wants to stop.
With due regard, Casey, let's not speculate, because we could speculate endlessly about what Pakistan does. I look at Shahbaz Sharif's statement. He's trying to, in some way, it appears, try to clutch at straws. You've got the military in Pakistan, which clearly has been taken aback, I think, by the skill with which this operation has been carried out, the seamless skill with which it has been carried out. So we don't know what Pakistan will do next. But General Sharma, you want to quickly come in on that? What are the possibilities of the kind of retaliation that Pakistan will do? A quick comment on that.
Thank you. See, the first point is that Pakistan has a short window. They don't have a window of 2 weeks like what we had to target, because they'll come under international pressure. They have a whole lot of money packed up to come back to Pakistan, so they can strike tonight or tomorrow night. Beyond that, the window will close. So the Pakistan's timing is very short. Now, what can they do? Can they, like you rightly pointed out, can they take saying whatever we have done is enough? So bask into the glory of the villages being hit and also aircraft downed, and then they say some brigade headquarters have been hit as what's being stated in Pakistan. Is that
But
sufficient?
that's all
Or does-
propaganda. There are no brigade headquarters. You see, the problem is Pakistan at the moment is thriving on propaganda just to satisfy a domestic constituency. The truth of the
will that
matter is
suffice?
what Operation Sindoor has done, General Sharma, is expose the terror links. When I see terrorists with the army generals in Muridke at the funeral
Will that
of
suffice? The point
terrorists.
is kinetic response. Yes. So the other part of the story is that they try and do a kinetic response, something beyond it. Like Ambassador K.C. Singh has said about the water, we have cut 11 times less water has reached Marala headworks in Chenab in 24 hours. So, you know, the total water supply in Marala headworks in Chenab has gone down nearly to zilch. So there is a great amount of damage which is happening on the water supply in the Kharif crop, which is May and June. So that also is an issue around here. I would just say in the end is that where can they hit? They have no terrorist camps to hit in India. Can they hit in a infrastructure? If they hit an infrastructure, they will get a debilitating attack back into their infrastructure. Would they hit into some kind of military establishment or airfields? Well, that can be an option of taking an odd thing. Or lastly, do a choreographed response, what they did after Balakot, hit some vacant land ground and said, look, we didn't hit your camp or we didn't hit your airfields, but we hit close to it and we have the capability of hitting it. So they have multiple options here.
Before we go into what options Pakistan has, let's focus on what's happened today once again. Because I think today is significant in more ways than one in the manner in which the messaging has taken place. Javed Ashraf, former Indian ambassador to France and someone who's worked closely with the National Security Advisor's office, is also joining me. Javed, what is the significance, you believe, of what's happened in the last 24 hours?
Well, I think it is enormous. First of all, it is not a surprise given the kind of clarity with which the Prime Minister has repeatedly drawn the line on the objectives of our retaliation, and given the fact that over the last few years, our increasingly aggressive posture on counter-terrorism hasn't deterred Pakistan from persisting with the campaign of terrorism against India. So this was, in a sense, expected. Muridke and Bahawalpur are extremely important for all of us who have followed terrorism from Pakistan. Know that these are the two major nurseries of terrorism. Even the United States couldn't get them to dismantle these when they were trying to condition assistance and specifically mention these establishments. So going after these two, in addition to the 7, is a hugely symbolic and a real measure of showing that we are capable of going beyond anticipated and war-gamed responses to Pakistan's persisting campaign of terrorism against India. And so this is very, very important. Second, I think it has shown that we have been able to mobilize ourselves in a matter of couple of weeks for a strike of this nature, taking into account the prospect of retaliation, for which we would mean that we would also have to be in a position to dominate the future steps of escalation. So all of these would have been wargamed. It shows our political leadership and our military leadership is prepared to take acceptable risks, and that we have also, speaking internationally, reversed the terms of responses or patterns of responses after each major attack. In the sense, in the past, we would end up having international community intervene to de-escalate. I mean, if you remember, even after Mumbai and before that in Parliament attack, but this time, by taking a preemptive steps to, we have, in a sense, given the international community a fait accompli. So this is a very important step. And that we've also shown the world, in a sense, that if no one else is going to come behind in taking a very clear position on terrorism emanating from Pakistan, then we are prepared to act on our own. And any military action will not be without consequences, without cost. The big question that we would have wargamed is what is the real Pakistani calculation, thinking, capability, and capacity to respond, given the fragility of their economy, the political instability inside the country. And so I think that, as you just heard, when we look at what the responses will be, I mean, we don't have a terrorism infrastructure for them to attack. They will either be civilian infrastructure or civilian targets or military targets, in which case they are saying that we are declaring a full-scale war. And I think that will lead to a level of retaliation from India, which would, be very hard for them to respond to. And second, I think their international position will be even further weakened as a result. So all in all, I think, yes, last night, I mean, we will still, it's an evolving situation, but I think it does take a lot of political courage and clarity.
But
and
has
also, I think for the military to be able to take this kind of a measure and simultaneously attack 9 sites, including 2 very important ones.
But Javed, has it acted, you believe, as a deterrent? The big question now is, have what we've done in the last 24 hours pushed Pakistan into a situation where, for all the rhetoric, there is now a recognition that we have reworked our own strategic doctrine and used kinetic action to another level to push Pakistan into a situation where they have limited options?
Now, I don't think that this may be a deterrent for some time, but remember, this is also, this can act as a great mobilizing force, whether it is, water, for example, is a very emotional subject. You've seen that, and I've just written about it. You've seen that in the context of India and Nepal. You've seen that in the context of India and Bangladesh, happens between states in India. So that becomes a major rallying point to recruit people to the cause. The increasing disruption of ties between our countries is easy to get people to fall for life's, sacrificing causes. It is also, remember, this attack like this can be a force for mobilization. And for a country,
I'm showing images there of Masood Azhar, someone who, remember, has been involved in major attacks, whether it's been on Parliament, whether it's been on Pulwama, the Jaish has been involved. Has the message gone to groups like Jaish and Lashkar in a manner that never went in the past?
You see, the message is very clearly there that there is no shield of security anymore for them. But that does not mean that Pakistan will not find new ways, or the Pakistan military will not find new ways to create camps, to create new infrastructure. We have seen that in other cases also. I mean, you've seen the limits of military force from Sahel to Middle East to Afghanistan in absolutely dismantling and terrorism network or deterring future attacks, particularly when it is the sword and the shield of a major military power in our region. So I think there will be a level of deterrence. There will be a level of uncertainty. The playbook has changed. The shield of security may have vanished, but I think it would perhaps require, a great leap of faith to say that we have, in a sense, deterred any future terrorist attacks from us. We'll have
in a moment, I'm going to be joined by Air Chief Marshal Bhaduria and former Army Chief Bikram Singh. But a final word from you there, KC Singh. Do you believe that the world today will stand with India given what's happened?
Look, it's largely known who will stand with you. If Turkey is standing with Pakistan today, the Greeks came out in a favor. The Chinese position is the most interesting. They have condemned the attacks, but they're not taking a very aggressive position. Because remember, with the trade war with US, they're also looking at India as a potential market. If their trade war with US worsens, they need India. So it's not visible. The Chinese may be playing very silently a positive role, hopefully a positive role in restraining the Pakistanis. We'll know over the next few days, because it doesn't suit them to open a new front in South Asia when they still haven't settled their trade war with US, which they consider as of existential danger to them. So there's a big change because of what Trump has done to the world. The whole world is distracted. For instance, who brought about the de-escalation last time? President Trump. He was somewhere in East Asia. He intervened. And within 2-3 days, we got an Air Force pilot back. And we had the elections coming up. The same Trump today said, oh, I see, this has happened. They've been fighting. But what he meant is, I'm too busy. Go and sort out your problem. So the world is different. I think we have a lot more space to act independently. And also, some of the alliances are changing. Some of the combinations are changing. But we have space at the moment, geostrategically, to act independently.
Okay, I just want to give Ajay Shukla also a final word. Ajay, what's according to you, in a way, why is this day significant?
Well, the day is significant, Rajdeep, because of the nature of what has been attempted and launched from the Indian side, which is deep attacks inside Pakistan in order to create deterrence. But I am just call me skeptical, but I believe that there is always room in an operation like this to get it better, to get it right, so that the next time you have to do it, you don't make the same mistakes, you don't have to incur the same casualties and so on. So well done, I would say, Indian Air Force, but make sure that you keep your nose to the grindstone, develop your drills and so on well, and the next time round it'll go hopefully even more smoothly.
Let me leave it there. I appreciate my guests joining me at this moment. I want to go to two other special guests who are joining me, who've been at the top of the ladder when it comes to the Air Force and the Army. I'm joined by General Bikram Singh, former Indian Army